All right, welcome back to my crazy friend. This is Cori.
Yeah, believe it or not, that was beatboxing on the tambourine.
It's a new gift of mine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was Cori.
You're such a jerk.
This is Laura, the one not beatboxing the tambourine.
Listen, I do, if something moves me, I just gotta go with it.
Yeah, we know. We appreciate that about you. That's our favorite thing about you.
Oh boy. As promised,
Yeah.
we are going to do crazy hauntings this week. Yeah, I know. This week freaked me out a lot. That being said, though, before we start into that,
Yeah.
I do have a big question for you.
Okay. Give me a big question. I'll give you a big answer.
What happened to Pearl Man from the last episode?
Oh, okay. So to recap who Pearl Man is.
Yes. In case
that wasn't 100% clear.
Guess you're a loser and didn't listen to the last episode.
I mean, that's craziness. So this guy in the Philippines had what, in the story, he believed was a rock under his bed for 10 years.
Right.
And he took it then when, I guess he was retiring, or I don't know why, he decided to take it to the tourism office, and they were like, oh my God, it's not a rock, it's a giant pearl.
75 pounds, 2 feet long, pearl.
Worth $100 million.
$100 million. Holy crapola.
So we were wondering, like, whatever happened to this guy?
Right? How do I meet this guy?
Right? So he did, in fact, not cash in.
Oh.
It's on display, I guess, still. I think you can still go look at it. The most recent article I found, anyway.
I mean, he should have at least got enough to, like, not work and travel.
So I guess he was working out some kind of agreement with the tourism office or something in the Philippines where he would get some money but still retain ownership of the pearl, but it would be on display there. I don't know. It was all very confusing, but long story short, he didn't cash out.
Well, you know what? Dumb. I don't know. Like, jeez.
I hear you.
Right.
Yeah, and I also read some stuff, where I said he didn't know it was a pearl. He thought it was a rock.
Yeah.
And I read some things where he knew it was a pearl and he just kept it there and like would rub it for good luck. So who knows, but either way, $100 million pearl kept under his bed, whether he knew what it was or not.
And then he didn't even cash out on it.
No, that's crazy.
Like, I just don't know how I feel about him now.
I know.
I guess though, you do you. The other woman's, she's holding out for $50 million. This guy's like, nah, you can have it. Mm-hmm. What else?
The woman with the painting in the last episode was holding out for $50 million on a $5 investment, and this guy's got gotten $100 million. He could probably get at least close to it.
Right.
Even if he took half of that.
Even if he just took a couple million.
No.
I mean, hey, what's a couple million between friends?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I guess the running theme so far of this episode is you do you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And if you do it right and you play your cards just right, maybe somebody else will do you too.
Oh, I could only be so lucky.
Words to live by.
Words to live by. All right, speaking of doing me.
Yeah, no, let's do that.
I don't know why I said that. I was thinking because I wanted to bring up in the last episode, we talked about, actually it wasn't the last episode, it was the lie episode. We talked about champagne only being from Champagne.
Yes.
And I talked about tequila, and I was thinking, it's so funny because we call my husband Tequila Stew.
Yeah, we do.
And he's fun. So,
yeah, I like Tequila Stew.
So when you said do me, I'm like, Tequila Stew. I don't know why. But anyway, that doesn't matter. So, so dumb. Anyway, my point that I'm going to make eventually is that, big shocker, but most tequila does come from the Mexican city of Tequila. So I am not a stupid idiot, and I did know what I was talking about.
So I'll give you a 95% then.
Okay, because I guess there's a couple, but Mexico's that's their national spirit, and most of it comes from there. But it's not It's not like Champagne. That all of it comes from there. So yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I didn't know there was a city called Tequila, so I will give you that.
Thank you.
You get 1 point. You're only down like, I don't know,
100 million. I was 95 points.
Oh no, a 95% correctness. You get 95% of a point.
Oh.
See what I mean?
That sucks.
I know, you're way behind.
All right, whatever. So, okay, on to hauntings.
Yes.
Ooh. So, I believe in ghosts.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Yeah.
And, but I have utmost respect for ghosts.
Yes.
Because I believe that you need to be open to ghosts to see them. And this bitch is closed. Okay? So closed that I don't care if I think there's a ghost in my peripheral, I'm going to block it out and pretend like I didn't see it. Because it freaks me out and it scares the shit out of me. And then I can't sleep.
Oh.
And then I take it, then my poor family suffers. So, because I can't sleep by myself. No. And my husband does sometimes go away for work. And then I'm like, the dog has to sleep with me, or I used to make the kids sleep with me, and now they're getting older and they're like, Mom, sorry. And I'm like, can I just sleep in your room on your floor? Or you know, Ben has bunk beds. Of course, me.
You can have the top.
We both know that's bad.
That would be.
And there's a fan. I would decapitate myself.
Oh my God, I would pay just to be a fly on the wall while you tried to sleep in a top bunk bed with a fan. But anyway, go ahead. So
my point
that's not
is,
an option anymore.
It's not an option anymore, and so I get scared. And so I'm just going to remain closed. But this week scared the bejesus out of me.
I don't think you're researched right. Go ahead.
Oh, really? Yours were funny? Mine were terrifying.
Oh, go ahead. What you got?
Okay.
Oh, well, no, wait. Do you have any, before we started, I was thinking, do you have any ghost stories of your own that you wanted to share?
Yeah, I mean, so there were a few times in my life where I think that I encountered a ghost. Here's one example was after my grandma passed away, and I slept in the basement. And it was an unfinished basement, and my room was a finished room in an unfinished basement. Okay. So there was like a room in the corner. So you had to walk down stairs that were not finished, rickety stairs that were way too high because it was like a 100-year-old farmhouse. So they were very steep. Down to a basement, which had like cement walls and cement floors, and it used to have a coal bin. That's how old it was.
Wow. Okay.
I gotcha. Through all that to a back corner with no windows, which is where my bedroom was.
I'm following. It sounds dark and danky.
It was scary.
Yeah.
But I had a dehumidifier in there, and it was fine, and it was all dry, you know, it was fine. It was fine. But yeah, a little damp. Probably why I'm as messed up as I am now. Because everybody else slept upstairs with me. Doesn't matter. Point is, I was asleep, and I remember waking up and an old lady is sitting at the edge of my bed, and then like I couldn't move, and I felt like, and then it just kind of floated away, and then I was terrified, but I wasn't. I knew that the thing wasn't mean, and
so it had like you felt its presence.
I saw it. I saw someone a lady sitting at the edge.
No, but I mean, like you could feel that she wasn't mean.
Yes. And so, and it reminded me of like Ghostbusters, that scene of like the old lady in the library. Yeah. So I've convinced myself over the years that it never happened, but I was a teenager. Like this, they moved me downstairs when I was a teenager, and I still remember it. So I don't know. I just was like, I was dreaming. I just tell myself I'm dreaming. So that was one. Mm-hmm. And then the other time, this is super scary. Okay. So when I was, I don't know, I guess 5, my mom was in the hospital giving birth to my sister. Okay. And I'm sleeping in her bed. Like I was sleeping in her bed. We had a babysitter there, and I can't remember if it was like my grandma or who was there. My dad was at the hospital with my mom, and I got to sleep in their bed. Okay. And I woke up, and I couldn't scream. I tried to scream. It was like that night. Yeah. Like I woke up with a nightmare, and I freaked myself out, and I crawled down to the bottom of the bed. And they had this big bureau with a big mirror. Okay. And I closed my eyes and I reached out my hands towards the mirror, and something pulled me into the mirror.
That's creepy.
And I remember this, and then I wake back up and I'm laying on the bed again. And I get so freaked out, and I jump out of the bed and I scream and I run down the hall, and I was so afraid of this mirror. Like it was so real. And again, could have been a dream. I was 5, but I remember it to this day. Yeah. And here's the kicker. I kept the mirror.
Why?
I don't know.
What is wrong with
I took it to college with me. I painted it. It was in my room. It's in my bedroom closet right now. To this day, before I go to bed every night, I have to shut the closet door because that mirror is in there. I don't know. I feel like I don't know, because it's bad luck to break a mirror. I know people, you can go on and on about bad luck. I don't know how I believe it.
Donate it though.
So yeah, you're right. So I feel like I don't want to believe in bad luck. I think that's silly. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to push my luck. So I just kind of like follow the rules, even though I don't know if I believe in them. But like my house is number 13, and that's my lucky number. So I guess, I don't know. I guess I'm just crazy.
No, yeah.
So I just figure, don't push your luck, but like I like the number 13, so it's okay. So anyway, so those are two things that I remember very vividly, but God only knows. I probably was dreaming, but yeah, those are the two things. Freaky, right?
Yeah. Freaky.
Yeah. So what's yours?
Well, I'll tell you one of mine when I'm telling my stories, but I asked Sean if he had any, and he said, well, yeah, actually, not him, but his mom, when she was pregnant, she fell down the steps and a spirit caught her and turned her. So when she landed, kind of like braced her fall. So when she landed, the baby wasn't hurt. And so she could feel the spirit catching and moving her and landing her softly.
Wow. Who was she pregnant with?
Sean. So you're a miracle baby.
Right, because that's the only reason.
Yeah.
Because he had to be here.
Yeah. Well, now, yes. So we will be calling him the miracle baby from now on.
Okay, perfect. Obviously.
And we will also just make a tiny little note that we mentioned in the previous episode or a few episodes ago that his mom is also a pathological liar.
Oh. So she told that story. You just ruined it.
I have to take it with a grain of salt.
Oh.
I mean,
it's a great story, though.
Who knows? This is what
I want to believe it, so I will.
She can't, I mean, literally everything can't be a lie, right? There has to be something that's true at some point.
Right, and
let's hope this is it.
This is the one thing.
This is it.
Perfect.
Sean's a miracle baby.
Yep.
And that's what I heard.
That's all I hear. That's all I'm going to hear from now on. Your husband, the miracle baby.
My husband, the miracle baby.
We have a thing for babies in these episodes. You notice that? Yeah, it's like a love-hate relationship with babies.
Yeah. What's perfect.
More hate on your end.
Yeah. You've got the love, I've got the hate.
Oh, that's actually true. We are the yin and yang of babies.
Yeah, we balance each other out.
Okay.
So
Anyway.
Tell me some crazy hauntings, will you?
Okay, so here's some hauntings from me to you. Okay, number one. I have like 3 little stories, if that's cool.
That is cool. I've got 3 little stories too.
Wow, I hope they're not the same stories.
They're definitely the same.
that would be the fucking shit.
Wouldn't it?
Then I'd be like, you know what, I give up. I
can't even.
Okay, so this one was Jenna Bush.
Oh, no.
So Jenna Bush, as we know, President George Bush's daughter.
Yes.
She's adorable. Anyway, she was living in the White House. And I guess she was sleeping, and I guess there's a fireplace in her bedroom at the time, and she started hearing like 1920s music coming out, and then it like freaked her out, and she ran into her sister's room, and her sister's like, don't be ridiculous, go back to sleep, you know what, you're on my nerves. And then the next week they were both asleep in her room, and then they woke up again, there was like a ringing, and they were talking to each other back and forth, and again they jumped up. They both could hear the 1920s music coming out of the fireplace. They couldn't believe it. They jumped out of bed, and they were like, this is crazy, and they started asking people in the White House, and they're like, yeah, it happens all the time. So I don't know.
So the White House is known to be haunted?
I guess
is what you're telling me?
And then they also heard some opera coming out of the fireplace, and there was no explanation for it. So
that's weird.
So yeah. So I mean, of all the places, I would think the White House being haunted makes sense.
It does make sense.
But I had never heard that, so I thought that was crazy.
Yeah, it's odd that it's not one of like the well-known stories about the White House.
Right? I mean, there's got to be more hauntings. I bet you there's a lot of White House hauntings.
Yeah, we should look that up sometime.
We'll look it up.
when I'm bored.
When I'm bored.
Put it on the list.
Yeah. Anyway, so my next story.
Okay.
Is you know how I feel about celebrities. Like I love celebrities, but I'm always afraid to meet them. Yeah. Because I'm afraid they're going to be mean or ruin,
your image of them. Right.
But there's one specifically. Do you know who it is? Who I know I could meet and they would be wonderful. Who is it?
It's got to be Eddie Vedder.
Oh yeah, that's not who. That's yours. It's not mine.
I figured. Who?
But I think Eddie Vedder would be nice.
Well, obviously. Who's yours?
Keanu Reeves.
Oh, well, duh.
Yeah, duh. Like, I just think he's like the nicest guy. And if I saw him, I'd want to meet him because I think he'd be nice to me.
Yeah, he's a cute little potato, isn't he?
Such a cute potato. So, anyway, I had to tell Keanu Reeves he believes in ghosts and he's got a ghost story.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right. So when he was like 6 or 7 years old, they moved into a new apartment in New York City. I guess they had come from Australia. Mm-hmm. And he had a nanny, and they were in the bedroom, and there was a doorway, and all of a sudden this jacket comes waving through the doorway. It was just an empty jacket. There was nobody in it, no legs. And then it just appears. And he was a little kid, and he thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. And he looked over at his nanny, and his nanny's face was terrified. And so that was his story.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
So they never figured out, like, they're just, nobody
Nope.
ever talked about it?
Nope. It's just, you know, he's like, yeah, I think there's ghosts. And
his nanny was like, yeah, I think you might be right.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, okay, my last story. Do you know who Daniel Stern is?
No.
Okay, well, Daniel Stern is the bandit who is not Joe Pesci in Home Alone. Okay. The other one.
Yeah, the fuzzy haired guy.
Right.
Okay.
So he was on a trip in England with his wife. They went there on their honeymoon
Okay.
in 2010.
All right.
And he wanted to explore the moors. They were always in like the Sherlock Holmes, and they were mysterious. So they were on the last leg of their trip, and they were heading to a bed and breakfast in the moors.
Okay.
And it was like really like foggy, and he's like, it looked like we were, you know, it was really foggy and creepy, and he's like, it was really cool. And his wife was looking at the map, and she's like, they had a little time to kill before they had to be at the bed and breakfast. And they're looking at this map, and they're like, hey, there's this little town, and it's got a cute little church. And it was a little town called Whitcomb. And him and his wife were like, cool, let's do a little detour to go to this cute little town. Anyway, so they get to the town, and they get out of their car, and they get this like icky feeling, and it's kind of cold. There's like 30 or 40 people just milling around this little town, but they're walking slow and deliberate. And the most noticeable thing, like, is that nobody's making eye contact.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
That in itself creeps
Yeah,
me
and
out.
he's like, they started to get a really strange feeling, and he felt like they were like extras in a movie. It was like Night of the Living Dead. So everyone's dressed in black. There's no color. Everyone's walking around. It's silent. And they do, at some point, they decide, they see a lady, and she's standing at the church, and they figure she's alone. She's not with, everybody else seemed to be like paired up, and they're like, let's just, see, ask this woman, where should we go, or see what she says. And this woman turns to them, and she just starts speaking in tongues.
Ooh.
In like a funky language. And they were like, they started freaking out. And the wife at this point was like, we need to get out of here. So that's what they did. They both ran back to their car. They got in their car, and they were like, oh my God, what just happened? And they're like, let's just get out of here. Let's just get out of here. And then about a mile outside of the town, all of a sudden, kaboom, their tire burst.
Ooh.
Yeah, just exploded.
Oh my God.
And they're looking at each other, and they're like, oh my God, the logical thing would be to turn around and go back to this town and see if we can get our tire fixed. But we were stuck in the middle of nowhere, like in the foggy moors, and there's a ghost town behind them. And his wife was like, we're not stopping. She's like, we are not getting out of the car until we get to that bed and breakfast. And they drove on that tire the whole way to the bed and breakfast, which was like, I don't know, 15 like miles away. And they finally got there, and they were like so shook up. And they get out, and they get to the bread and breakfast, and they're like, oh, we drove on this room, blah, blah, blah. And they told the guy, they were shaking, and they started telling him we stopped at Whitcomb. And the guy was like, oh, you shouldn't have stopped there. That's a haunted town. Nobody goes there. There's a lot of dead people around there. Are you kidding? He's like, and the funny thing is, like, Daniel Stern started off saying, like, I'm not someone who believes in this stuff. He's like, but after this incident, he's like, I'll listen to anybody. He's like, because I was always a skeptical. He's like, I always thought people, whatever. Like, he's not someone that's into this stuff, wouldn't even believe this stuff. He said that was the scariest shit he had ever encountered.
That is so crazy.
Yeah, it freaked me out. Now I want to go, but I don't want to go. But I want to go, but I don't want to go. Like, I want someone to go and tell me. Like, someone I know. You go.
Maybe. So it was Whitcomb, and what was the state?
It's in England.
Oh, okay. Whitcomb, England.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next time I'm in England, I'll pop over.
Also, and I should have said this, the store owner was like, apparently, there's the church that's there. It was packed one Sunday, and it was like, I don't know what holiday. And it got struck by lightning, and the steeple fell on everybody and killed them all.
Oh.
Yeah. So I guess you don't get past something like that.
Yeah, I guess that would explain the town being haunted.
Right? So anyway, crazy. Freaked me out. But I mean, like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. A little bit nuts, actually.
Anyway.
Yeah, that would freak me the fuck out.
Right? So that's all I got. Just freaked myself out looking at stuff like this. There were so many stories, but those are the 3 that stuck out to me the most.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you want to hear mine?
Yeah, I
Is that
do.
the transition?
That's why I'm here.
Okay. So, before COVID, I used to travel for work a lot. We would go to DC specifically, like a lot. And there was some event that we were going to, and it happened to be on the same day as a bunch of other events in DC. So like it was hard to get hotels. So we had a hotel, and it wasn't someplace we normally stayed. I forget where it was. So we get there. We go up to the desk, and they're like, yeah, we don't have your reservations. So we're like, fuck. Oh. And I was with like a group of people. There was like 5 of us.
None of them.
None of them. And so we're like calling our admin who had set it up, and she's like, no, I have the confirmation, but it didn't matter. We didn't have rooms. So we had to plan B it. So the hotel's trying to find us something, and our admin's calling around, and there's like nothing in DC.
Wow.
So minutes go by. We're probably like in an hour. We're standing in this lobby, like everybody's trying to find us rooms. So eventually, long story short, we get a room. The Omni Hotel has rooms for us. We're like, well, I've never stayed at the Omni. Fuck yeah. So it's the Omni Shore. So we get in our little car and we drive over there. And
I love Omnis. We stayed in an Omni for Valentine's Day in Pittsburgh. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was definitely beautiful. It was gorgeous. So we go and we're like, this is sweet. You know, we would never be able to stay there. Like normally the company wouldn't allow that, but when it's literally the only room left in DC, what are you going to do, right?
Score.
So we check in, we go up, and we do our thing, and I go back, and I'm just enjoying the hotel. And I go to bed at night. When I go to hotels, I don't unpack my bags. I put my suitcase in a corner, and then I put my handbag on either a chest or on the edge of the bed, or on the second bed if there's 2 beds.
Sure.
So this one had 2 queens, so I threw all of my shit on the second bed, and then I slept in the other one. And I got
smart,
right? I think so. So I got up in the morning, and I had this like tote bag, this leather tote bag that was like black leather handles. You know what I'm talking about, leather purse.
Of course.
On the metal rings, and the black leather wraps around the metal rings, and like it's like tacked in there. So I took it to the event, came back, I went to bed, I got up in the morning, and that strap was completely severed. Like it was no longer attached. I had to throw the bag out. It wasn't like it was kind of falling apart. It was just destroyed for no reason. It was perfectly fine. I put it on my bed, went home like, this is fucking weird. And
it is weird.
And I thought a lot about it. I just never thought to Google it until we decided to do this episode. So I'm like, that was the weirdest fucking thing that's ever happened to me, like spirit wise. Like other things you can kind of explain away. Like maybe it was electricity, maybe it was this. This was like, that was weird. So I Googled the Omni in DC, and guess what? Turns out that bitch is haunted.
Are you serious?
I am serious.
See, I was gonna guess you sure there wasn't like a mouse that came and chewed your bag, but you would have seen chew marks and stuff like that.
Yeah, it wasn't chewed. It was like the metal, the pin or the grommet that keeps it together had been pulled apart, and it was just detached.
Crazy.
Like I can't even explain how it wasn't. Even nothing was happening to it the night before. It was fine.
And you would have heard it, or you would have seen it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I looked up just to kind of find out, like, what is this deal with the Omni? Did anybody else ever report anything? Is it just me? Well, it turns out that when the Omni was being developed, one of the shareholders had a room there, and one of his housemaids was found dead in the room, and a phone was left hanging on the bed. So the investigation revealed that she hadn't been feeling well throughout the day, and they think that she died while reaching for the phone to call an ambulance.
Oh.
Yeah. So
That's
in the
dark.
same room, this guy's wife died from failing health. So at that point, like,
At that point, you're like, oh my God, was I in that room?
right? Like well, this is like when it was being built.
Right.
Like they lived there. It was like their living quarters.
Sure,
so it
sure.
wasn't a room yet.
Okay.
So then they converted it to rooms.
Sure.
And then people stayed there and like said they heard things. So then the rooms were shut down. They call them the ghost rooms. Like nobody stays there. And then they would then they opened it back up. They renovated. People got to stay there. And then so now like lots of people would say that their belongings were moved throughout the night, or they would hear sounds or music, or they would like see things. And so
oh my God, I would never go back there in a million years.
I know. So then they shut the rooms down. So they're still available to rent, whatever, reserve, but only if you specifically ask for them or if there are no other rooms available.
Which is when you were there.
Right? So I'm like, I guarantee you I stayed in one of those rooms.
Oh my God. Did anybody else that you went with have anything to say?
Well, I didn't go with people that I would share these kinds of stories with.
Yeah, but now don't you want to go back and ask somebody?
No.
You don't even know who they are anymore. They're just people from older. Okay, well, whatever. So I'll ask them for you.
All right, you do that.
Because I want to know.
That's been on my mind for years. I just never really, I'm like, oh, that's a ghost or something. That's crazy. And it was like shortly after my grandfather had passed. So I thought, maybe he's traveling with me. Maybe he's doing it. And,
No.
Nope.
It was scary Omni. And this is the Omni in DC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Freaky, right?
Wow. So you guys, there was nothing available. And they were like, okay, well, we're going to let you have a bed.
Yeah.
But good luck to you. Mm-hmm. So, they still to this day, you think you have to specially ask for them?
That's what it says.
Wow.
You have to ask for those rooms, or if there's nothing left, don't put you in the list.
How long ago was this?
Oh God, what is this? It was probably 2017, maybe, give or take.
And too bad you couldn't. You probably wouldn't remember what room number it was.
You know what? I tried to find my receipt because I have to submit expense reports, but I think the way this was set up, I didn't get that receipt because it was a last minute in our admin.
Right.
Yeah, so I couldn't find it. I was dying to know.
I wonder
Freaked me the
if
fuck
we could.
out, though.
Oh yeah, 2017. If it was just recently, you might be able to call them. That's crazy. You definitely were in one of those rooms.
Yeah, I don't think we need to look it up. It's clear.
It's clear.
It's in
clear as a bell.
As a bell.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Right? So I thought, I bet you what other hotels are haunted.
Yeah.
Right? So shit ton of hotels are haunted.
Oh yeah.
So I just picked 3. I'll just tell you quick versions, but each of these deserves an hour on its own.
Awesome.
So the first one I was going to tell you about is the Chateau Marmont.
Is that in France?
No, it's not. It's in California.
Okay.
It's on the Sunset Strip, actually.
Okay.
In California.
Cool.
So this was the place to party in Hollywood.
Okay.
It probably still is. I don't know. But the hotel slogan was always open, always a safe haven, is true for the dead and the living, is what they say. So the living were free to go just party, do whatever they want.
Yeah.
It was really hard to get kicked out. If you wanted to party, have a good time, behave badly, this is the hotel to do
Don't
it
come here to sleep is what I'm hearing.
Right.
Right.
Well, and apparently that goes for the dead as well.
Everybody.
So
Okay. Awesome.
some of the famous hauntings are John Belushi.
Wow.
You may remember him from Blues Brothers, and he was a comedian. He died there. That's where he had his infamous overdose.
Okay.
Was in Chateau Marmont. And Al Franken, who was also on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah. When he was there, I don't know if he was staying in his room. Belushi died in Bungalow 3, for anybody who's interested and tracks that stuff. So Al Franken was there and said that he saw his ghost.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And there was also another little girl who was there. And she and her family were staying in this bungalow, and she kept giggling and laughing, and her parents were like, well, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm talking to the funny man. And they were like, okay, she's got an imaginary friend, creepy, but whatever, have at it, knock yourself out. And so she continued doing her thing. And then later they were watching something, either on TV or it was a magazine, I forget, but she saw his picture, John Belushi's picture. And the little girl pointed at him and said, that's the funny man I was talking to.
Oh, I'm You know how when you tell these things, the hair on my arms just stood up. That I feel like that's how I always know something's real is when the hair stands up on me.
Right?
Wow.
I know. And they could hear like parties happening and glasses tinking and just all kinds of stuff.
Crazy.
And then there was also another Helmut Newton. I guess he was a photographer. I didn't recognize the name, but he must have been a really well-known photographer in his day. So he crashed his car into the hotel wall and died.
Yikes.
And so apparently his ghost is also there.
Wow.
So if you're looking for a good time or to party with some famous ghosts.
Well, it sounds like they're nice ghosts. So, if I'm going to go and stay with ghosts, I want them to be fun and nice ghosts.
Well, I think everybody that went there just went to party, so why not, right?
Yeah. I don't want to go where there's, nefarious ghosts. I don't want anybody to hurt me or scare me.
No, nobody needs that mess. Okay, so my next one was Hotel Chelsea, or the Chelsea Hotel in New York City.
Yep, I heard of it.
Yeah, so this is a huge landmark, but it's a really creepy looking landmark. It's like old brick and wrought iron. So you got to look at some pictures of the inside of this. I mean, just the pictures alone are...
Is it like gothic looking?
No, it's got like weird artwork on it, and it's got like dolls on swings hanging from the ceiling.
Oh,
like
why?
I don't know why.
Where was the museum we went in DC that had all the funky stuff?
Oh, the O Museum.
Yeah, that one was fun. I bet you that's haunted.
I bet, yeah, it's got to for sure be haunted.
Oh yeah, because there's so much stuff in there.
Yeah, from so many different people.
Right, there's got to be some.
Stayed there.
Right, there's got to be some haunted stuff in there. Okay,
anyway,
digress.
That's beside the point. That's not
so
one
the
of
Chelsea,
my hotels.
Yeah, the Chelsea Hotel.
Yeah, so people have felt presence of people. They've seen it. There's even photographs of auras that are like tangible proof, they say, of ghostly hauntings.
Wow.
So some of the famous, I thought I'd just call out a few of the famous ones from all these haunted hotels.
Yeah.
So you remember Sid Vicious from
Yeah.
Sex Pistols?
Yeah.
Well, he and his girlfriend Nancy Spungen lived.
Sid and Nancy.
Yeah. Lived, that is them.
Yeah.
Lived in one of the rooms in the Chelsea. And actually, she died in one of the rooms.
Oh,
so,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she had overdosed, I think, or been high, and then he stabbed her in the stomach or the abdomen, and then she died. And then while he was arrested, and then while he was out, he overdosed. And so rumor is, or story is, that both of their ghosts haunt the Chelsea. So if you go and you stay in or around their room, you can possibly interact with them.
Yeah, see, they would be ones I don't want to see. I don't know. I think that they would be not nice.
Yeah, probably. I don't think they were mean though. Probably just like partiers.
Yeah, maybe a little like, I don't know, rude or maybe they would like, maybe they would bother you a lot. I don't know. They just seem like they'd be loud. Really not people that you could cohabitate with. No thanks.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
See, I on the other hand think they'd be a good time. I wouldn't mind hanging with their ghosts for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Well, my second one, or the other one that stayed here that was famous, that died here, was the poet Dylan Thomas.
Okay.
Do you remember him?
No.
So he wrote a bunch of stuff, but the one that you'll know is "Do not go gentle into that good night." That was him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. Do you ever watch Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield?
Yeah.
That's the poem he does.
Well, he looks like him. Rodney
really?
Dangerfield looks like Dylan Thomas. Here's a picture.
He probably was a fan.
Probably.
Okay, cool.
So Dylan Thomas stayed at the Chelsea and actually lived there while he wrote Under Milkwood, which is one of his other.
Yep.
Anyway, so he lived there, and then he actually died there when he was only 39 years old.
Oh,
shortly
so
before the premiere of Under Milkwood. Oh. So he fell into a coma that was induced, and the legend is that he drank 18 whiskeys in a row and fell into a coma. But the truth is actually that he had diabetes and got bronchitis and pneumonia.
Okay. So they tried to romanticize it. Not that any way of dying is good, but
right.
So he haunts the Chelsea then too?
Yeah, he does.
Wow.
Yeah. So those are the two from the Chelsea that I was going to tell you about.
Well, I'm going to go stay in the California hotel, but probably not the New York hotel. Okay. So is there another hotel?
Yeah. One of the things I looked at was what's the most haunted city in America, and it's New Orleans. So I thought it wouldn't be appropriate to do an article about, or a story about hauntings in different hotels without at least mentioning one in New Orleans. So this one doesn't have any famous people, although it is a famously haunted hotel. So I figure that counts.
Yeah, and honestly, I think I read a ton of, like, Nicolas Cage owned a haunted house there, and I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah, it said that it has the most hauntings per capita. New Orleans.
His was so bad that he never ended up moving there, and he ended up selling it in 2009 because it was so haunted. Anyway.
Yeah, apparently everything there is haunted. And apparently,
Who knew?
well, and it seems like everything there has massive, like, sad destruction stories to go along with the hauntings.
Wow,
So
okay.
the Bourbon Hotel, or the Bourbon Orleans Hotel is what it's called.
Okay.
Has been a bunch of different things over the years, and one of which was a home for orphan girls, and also served as an asylum for orphan girls.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and
That's
then
that's not a good way to start.
no, well, and it also had an attached ballroom that served. I mean, it had a bunch of purposes over time, but there's always a ballroom for whatever the building was. It had an attached ballroom.
Got it.
So back in the 1800s, everybody in the town flocked to this ballroom, and there would be events. So there was an event there. It was a doubleheader, I think. I know, a doubleheader event in the ballroom.
All right.
So they were there for the ballroom events.
Sounds
And, so they heard a sound that they thought was a musket shot. So they just kind of like, oh, that was loud, that was annoying, but whatever. We'll just keep watching the event. And next thing they knew, part of the ceiling started collapsing. Because what the sound actually was the iron supports breaking.
Oh my goodness.
So the ceiling collapsed, a bunch of people were hurt. In the end, only 2 people died. They thought it was a lot more at the time. But now they're saying that those are haunted. So if you go to Bourbon Orleans Hotel, I mean, if you go to their website, one of the things that they talk about is all of their hauntings. So as a hotel, if you're talking about your hauntings, I think there's probably a pretty extensive list.
Wow. Yeah, we're not going there.
No. So, I mean, there's the Confederate soldier, who is a man who is on both the 6th and the 3rd floors. There's a little girl that rolls her ball and chases it down the 6th floor corridors.
Oh, kids freak me out.
There's light footsteps that are heard in the hallways.
Wow.
Ghost children and female ghosts that run around. They figure those are probably from when the hotel was a wayward school or school for orphan girls.
Sure.
And then the ballroom, the people who are there, they're seeing people dancing there, and they figure that is from when people died in the roof collapse.
Crazy.
So there's a bunch of people who have died in each iteration of the hotel's existence over the years. So they figure people from all different walks of life and periods of time haunt this hotel.
Wow.
Nuts, right? I think it burned down twice too.
Really?
So there was just one thing after another that happened to this building. I mean, like I said, I could go on for hours just about the history of this building and what happened there, but keeping it short and simple for you.
Yeah.
Hotel's haunted as shit.
Yeah, well, there's so many haunted things down there, and like crazy things and crazy places people died, and I've been there. We stayed in a hotel. We didn't have any supernatural anything. It was a really cool hotel. It was like Art Deco. It was
Everything
really cool.
there seems pretty cool. I've only been there once, but
it was fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't, no scary issues.
not like the Omni
But
anyway.
regardless, because I'm closed to that, so even if there would have been stuff, it was all normal and good.
I'm half
happened.
open.
Yeah, you keep being open. I'm gonna remain closed. So.
Will do.
Oh, before we, I don't know, are we wrapping up?
I'm good. I got nothing else.
I wanted to say that the Daniel Stern story was on Celebrity Ghost Stories. So, if you're into celebrity ghost stories, that show, I caught like a ton of them. They're really good.
Oh, you should. Yeah, I think I'm going to check that out actually.
Yeah.
As you're talking about, I was going to ask you afterwards, but you brought it up. So perfect.
I figured maybe the peoples would want to know.
Oh, the peoples are me, and I want to know.
I know you're my peoples.
Mine, just go Google it because I pulled stuff from like 150 different sources.
Well, yeah, and you just have the gift of storytelling. So, sources, schmorses. So yeah, that's all I got. So until next time.
Until next time. Later.
Hey, before we go, wasn't there something you wanted to tell all the peoples?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to our little podcast wherever you like to listen.
We heard it's important.
Super important.
Yep. And where else can they find us, Laura?
You know what? Glad you asked. They can also find us on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at My Crazy Friend Podcast.
And if you have anything you want to tell us, just email us at mycrazyfriendpodcast@gmail.com.
All that is accurate.
So yeah.
Until next time.
Later.